Have you ever fallen head over heels in love? You know when the world seems so bright, when excitement overtakes you from head to toe, where everything just feels so right until boom! One day it all comes to an abrupt halt. Suddenly, the dream come true feels like a nightmare. What if there was a scientific explanation for this? Well, guess what? There is actually an art and science to love and intimacy. And in this episode, we wanted to explore how to know if we're really in love or chemically high on love. Welcome to part 1 of my Man Whisperer series. By the way, I define man whispering as an acute understanding of yourself and of men. It's the fine art of knowing how to apply your power and emotional intelligence to influence him both responsibly and effectively. Today's episode is titled Man Whisperer, the scientifically right and wrong ways to attract a man. I'm your host, love and life coach Dia Direct, and today I'm talking to Neuroscientist Ryeal Simms, aka the relationship scientist, who gives us the inside scoop on our brain and how it responds to feeling in love. This is your Brain on Love, right after this.
Talking tools to reboot, realign, and reignite fire in your life. It's Superpower with Dia Direct.
Some of us look soft on the outside, but we're hard as stone inside. Others appear hard on the outside, but are really marshmallows inside. If this is you, it probably means you're often misunderstood. It may even be hurting your love life, brand, or professional growth. This year, let's be more strategic and intentional. Soft is the new power book, has the answers you need, guiding you on how to tap into your soft side and using it as a strategic edge. Be more intentional by using emotional intelligence to communicate. Learn and leverage the art of becoming a man whisperer. Go to Amazon.com and order your copy of Soft is the New Power today.
Talking tools to reboot, realign, and reignite fire in your life. It's Superpower with Dia Direct.
Know when we are really in love. Some symptoms, some signs. When it's really love and when you kind of realize maybe it was infatuation or something else.
Sometimes that we really have to be careful when we are intimate with someone. There's a certain neurotransmitter called the oxytocin that kicks in, and the oxytocin is something that kicks in even when during childbearing. So when you have kids, the oxytocin is something that bonds you to your mom and daughter or mom and son. Like when you have a child, the first thing you want to do is actually hold the child. And this is something that actually bonds you to the child. That's the oxytocin being released. So when you're intimate with someone and it's the right someone, your oxytocin, if he releases that oxytocin in you, what happens is that you want to bond to that person. And you, the body starts to yearn for that person because it knows that this is the person that releases that oxytocin. And that oxytocin is a feel-good drug, and it releases also, it goes into a certain part of our brain. It releases dopamine. And dopamine is just as strong as cocaine. So now, again, when I mention that high, that euphoria that you're on, now you're like, oh my God, I love this guy, but actually you have to be careful and let that relationship go through its process so you can make sure that it's not just because you guys were intimate. And that's why you really have to be careful about being intimate so soon with this person, because all of the list of things that you have to see if maybe he meets your non-negotiable requirements, your needs and your wants, if you didn't give that a chance to actually see if at least this person has the potential to meet your needs, then you could be blinded by just the chemicals alone. And once that oxytocin is released and you think, I love you, I love this person, but actually it's the body yearning for those natural drugs that I mentioned earlier too as well.
I think we all have been emotionally and chemically high off of thinking that we loved somebody because of how they made us feel, and then made poor decisions based upon those feelings that didn't turn out to necessarily be as strong or as rooted as they should have been. When you use words like oxytocin, tell us what that is. As you kind of alluded to, it plays itself out in a number of different ways.
It's a release, it's a neurotransmitter.
Where does it originate from, and then how does it affect the body on a daily basis?
Well, oxytocin is definitely something that comes from the body, from the brain.
Okay.
And it's released just like everything else, but it's only released during the bonding, the intimate situation once you're being intimate. It's not released all the time. It can be released just in kissing. Sometimes I've heard that it could be released just in anticipation, like say when you want to jump off of a mountain. Oxytocin or dopamine starts to kick in.
You said that you talked about kind of the power of kissing. Mm-hmm. And is it true that saliva carries the male testosterone, which makes kissing almost like a sex drug?
Yeah, just as the hormone that's released by the pituitary gland that causes the increase of concentration. But yeah, kissing is really interesting. Kissing.
Like, who knew that when you kiss a guy, like, you're getting some of his testosterone, and that kind of just speaks to the energy that is passed between two people when you're intimate.
So when the male and the female are kissing, the female actually receives testosterone from the male's saliva. And that testosterone goes into the pleasure center of the brain. And that testosterone is like the key to arousal. It opens up part of the brain. Those areas are responsible for dopamine. So that dopamine is what gets us really high. That's what gets us really excited, like a drug. Mm-hmm. And once that testosterone goes into the woman's body and it goes into those areas of the brain, this causes this gets into her tinting. This is what causes the woman to start lubricating. And this is what starts her clitoris to become a lot larger. This is what causes the walls of the vagina walls to start enlarging. So just in case anything goes in, that it could grip, and tinting is just the period when, okay, this is time when we're going to really end up having sex, and that testosterone is so strong. You know how when you say, girl, I'm going to go over to my friend's house, but I'm not going to go all the way. I'm not going to do anything. We're just going to fool around. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so when you see your girlfriend the next day and she goes, girl, what happened? You're like, oh, I don't want to talk about it. Because it's a great possibility that you went all the way.
Right. Just
based on that kiss, because that kiss holds a lot of drugs, that testosterone in that saliva. And once that happens, it's almost over. And like those companies, KY Jelly and all of that, mm-hmm. They know this because they know that we like microwave sex, that we can just go ahead and just get lubricated. But this is a message for the men. Men, all you have to do is be patient. Foreplay is for real. We've heard foreplay all the time.
Yes,
Anything
Lord.
that I'm talking about is not something that you haven't heard, right? I'm just giving it to you in the scientific way, right?
Which is fascinating.
So, we say foreplay. So foreplay is real. That's why you are supposed to be patient to make sure that you are doing the necessary things and giving her. Because the woman's body is yearning for the testosterone. The body knows that I need that testosterone in order for you to get me to the point where you want me. So a lot of clients that I counsel, that is one of the problems. One of the problems is, my husband, boyfriend, fiance doesn't want to kiss, right? So I have to explain to the male why it's important. She doesn't want to kiss just because this is a fairy tale thing that, she's seen in the soap operas or in the movies, but she actually needs that kiss. She actually needs that testosterone to go in her body. But she's not aware of it, why it's so important for her to kiss, but it is very important. It's very important because it gets her to the arousal state. Well, now the tinting and everything is ready for entering, because this is not something that you really want to do. You don't really want to enter a woman when she's not ready. It's preparing, and it takes a few minutes, to prepare for something to enter into so it's not damaged. Have to be very patient and give her what she needs and foreplay and whatever she needs. And that's why it's also important to communicate what you need to women and to understand your body and what it is that makes you aroused and gets you to the point where now you're ready.
sometimes just knowing the why makes a big difference. And do you find when you're counseling couples that when you explain it to men from this perspective that there's some logic to it, that it's chemically connected to how a woman is, do you find that makes them respond differently?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I have men that call me all the time going, dude, wow, I just had no idea. I mean, I took my time, the things that she told me that she likes the best. I did this, I did A and B, and oh my God, she was so lubricated and she was so ready. And the orgasm may happen a lot sooner for her too as well.
You're listening to the Dia Direct Show, where love, power, and girlfriends connect. For more info, go to DEYAdirect.net.
Here's $1 million question for you. What are some things that a woman can do from a neuroscientific perspective to attract a man? In terms of behavior or smells or senses or colors that may impact a man from a neuro perspective.
Yeah.
A lot of us have taken on masculine energy because of life, right? You move differently in the world. You wear certain colors that you want people in business to take you serious, so on and so forth. But in terms of the transferring of that energy and how that applies to your ability to attract on a personal, social, and romantic level, can you give us some tips that are tried and true and proven scientifically that may make women make some adjustments who want love, but they're doing all the wrong things?
Yeah, you are really good. You ask some really good questions and how you do it. You're good at what you do.
I appreciate that.
I'm like, wow, okay. You know what? I want to start from the bottom, actually. I want to start with something that we do that I find men and women too, that we do too much.
Okay.
And one thing, especially the older we get, we just wear too much cologne. We wear too much perfume.
Really?
Too much perfume. Yes. And too much perfume. Now, somebody could be attracted to the smell of your perfume. We always say, oh, man, that perfume smells good, or
Mm-hmm.
that cologne smells good.
Mm-hmm.
But what you're actually doing is blocking your natural perfume, because women have natural perfume. And that's something that we should be more mindful of, because that will draw more men than you think with that natural perfume. And that natural perfume is our pheromones. And especially, you have to be a little careful with this though, but especially when you're ovulating. When a woman is ovulating, she's releasing a chemical called copulins. And that copulins, when males actually smell that copulins, they also release something called androstenone. And this is what causes, this is sometimes what causes a couple to actually have sex on the first night. So when you meet someone in a club or something and you're ovulating, that's why you have to be careful when you're ovulating, women, because you are sending off a pheromone that is so strong that men can cannot, control themselves. If it's time that that you've ovulated and you've been at a club and men are just all over you, you're like, oh my God, like flies, right? Because they're smelling you. Now, this isn't something new. This is something that's been going on for the time we've been on this earth. Every living, breathing female creature on this earth does the exact same thing. I don't know if everyone is, I'm from Chicago. I lived in neighborhoods where you could see little running dogs all the time. And if you see the female dog, that is what we would call in heat.
Yes.
Or female canine. I don't want to compare women to dogs. Sometimes people get offended with that. But just female animals, period. Mm-hmm. Because we all have some similar things. And when you see that they're in heat, you see the male dogs are always after her, right? It's the exact same thing with a woman, because she's releasing that pheromone. So that cologne blocks that. And you don't want to block it. Just put a little little perfume, not a lot, just a little perfume, because you want your natural scent to come out, and so men could smell that natural scent and make that connection, because that's how we actually find that right person when we're talking about chemistry, right?
Yeah.
We use the term chemistry
Yep.
all the time. Well, that's how we find that match. And I call it the opposite match, because the body doesn't want another human being that have the same immune system, the same DNA, the same match. It wants an opposite match, right? So it's always looking for that opposite match, and that's what makes a match. So just be careful of the perfume, because woman, you got that scent, man. You got that natural scent that'll a man will just be like, oh my God. And it's the same reason too when it comes to married couples. Men, you can find yourself, all over your wife all the time. And this is something that their wives could realize. It's not aware of their cycle, not aware when they're ovulating. Well, they could figure out that they're ovulating when they're male. Then you know that it's a great possibility that you're ovulating at that point because he's all over you.
Okay, so I'm going to take a quick break. And when we come back, I kind of want you to go just a little deeper with that, because a lot of women find themselves excited, horny, if you will, before their cycle. There are certain times a woman may be more aggressive, right?
Absolutely.
Some of us look soft on the outside, but we're hard as stone inside. Others appear hard on the outside, but are really marshmallows inside. If this is you, it probably means you're often misunderstood. It may even be hurting your love life, brand, or professional growth. This year, let's be more strategic and intentional. Soft is the new power book, has the answers you need, guiding you on how to tap into your soft side and using it as a strategic edge. Be more intentional by using emotional intelligence to communicate. Learn and leverage the art of becoming a man whisperer. Go to Amazon.com and order your copy of Soft is the New Power today.
We feel what we feel, we like what we like, but we don't always know the why. We don't always know that there's a reason. It's chemically induced, our brain. And so you've been giving us these real tips that gives us insight as to how we function, how we feel about ourselves and others, and when. So talk to me a little bit more about the cycle, because you were talking about how a man is more attracted to a woman during certain times of her cycle, if you will. And I was also sharing that, when a woman is ovulating or right before her cycle, she may be more sexually excited. So can you give us some information about the why to that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Along with women also smelling the male's pheromones, that also gets her excited. And the androstenone is something that comes from the male's sweat glands. So if he's out working in the yard and he's, cutting the grass, fixing something in the house, working on something, or, sweating and everything, and you realize, oh my God, you get really turned on,
right?
Because you're actually smelling his pheromones too as well. Sometimes, a woman's sex drive may be stronger than the male's sex drive. And that's when it's at the point where she may desire sex a little more often than the male, or, is as equal. And especially when the body knows that this person is the person that released those chemicals. Again, when we become addicted to our significant other, we want it. It's no different than anything else. It's no different than, when we're addicted to certain things as far as food. You want that same food all the time and over, because again, the reason why we want it is because it gives us the exact same thing a drug gives us. High. It gives us that high. We want to feel high.
Okay, so let me just stop you right there, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
Because, a woman's hormones goes through all these different phases. I want you to kind of talk about the season of maybe a woman's sex drive, because let's say if she's going through perimenopause or menopause, it may affect her sex drive. Or there are certain times in her life where she may be actually more attracted to a younger man, aka people call it being a cougar, but there's actually a reason behind that. There's actually some science behind that. I'm wondering if there's a way for people to train their brain to get on the same page mentally, emotionally, but also in this case, since that's what we're talking about, sexually. And then how that plays itself out within the phases of a woman's hormone cycle, etc.
Okay.
That was a lot. It was a mouthful, I know. But you can handle it because you are the relationship scientist.
That's right. There are so many ways that we can be on the same page. And yes, one is understanding one's body, understanding one's communication too. So once you really understand your body, and I think that's so important when it comes to woman, is that she really should take out time to understand what pleases her and at what point what pleases her. I think that is so important.
It's huge.
Because you can't just leave it up to the male and say, well, I remember a long time ago, I don't know if they're still saying it, but years ago, women were like, well, I ain't got time to teach no man. Yeah, you do. You should take out time teach your man.
That's right.
Because it's so important for you to let him know what you like.
Yep.
And that's how you can get on the same plane, is to understand you first. You got to understand what you like and what your body parts, what feels good to you, woman, as males too. We have to say that too as well. Males as well, because sometimes males don't also articulate what they really like, right? And we can't just assume that we know what you like, right? We've been taught, sex is a bad thing, and you can't talk about this, and this is what we should talk about. This is what people should learn more about, what we're talking about today. All of these things are so important. What's happening during my monthly, and I wanted to just bring this to everybody's attention too. Like at age 13, I think you have like 350,000 eggs, right? After the millions, because you actually have millions. But by the time you get 13, you have about 350,000. There's different.
Wow.
It may be 58, maybe 50 to other people's research.
Oh, God, you would start talking about eggs.
Right. So yes, menopause has a major effect too. And I'm so glad that you're doing this show, because this isn't just for women. This is for men to understand, so they can understand the different mood swings that women go through during these periods. And I think it's so important, because we always talk about these things, and we always talk about, woman, you should know this, you should know this. But we also, our message is to men.
If you're just joining us, our relationship scientist, Ryeal Simms, has given us some insight about how the male saliva actually passes on his testosterone onto the woman. And so it has an impact on you. And so as a neuropsychologist, you have the ability to put both the behavioral and emotional together and help us to understand, how these things have a mental and physical impact on who we are. I just wanted folks to make sure they got that part.
You make sure that you kiss when you come home. Definitely make sure you kiss when you leave. I've had so many people to say, fortunately, I lost, my significant other, but I wished I had have just kissed him before he left.
Wow.
And that's why, too, it's so important to make sure that whenever you're leaving out that door, kiss. Kiss that person before they leave. And it serves major importance to the brain and to the body. Oh, and so the menopause that you're mentioning, too. It's so important to understand, too, how early menopause is. And this is why I know we see celebrities out here that are actually having kids at a later age.
Right.
And they have the money. They have the money to take those chances. But you are taking chances, and it really is. It's a risk that you're taking, and they have the money. You don't know what they're doing. You have no idea, how much money they may be spending to make sure that, everything is going to go totally well.
I mean, we understand that, a woman loses her eggs. Are you talking about also because of the impact that it may have on the child?
Absolutely. We don't want to have a child at an older age. Actually, again, I want you to remind me. I'm gonna talk about something else, but I want you to definitely remind me about menopause. Okay?
I will.
Okay?
I believe in that.
And again, this one you probably nobody ever talk about.
Menopause.
Okay, so we know that when I mentioned earlier, you have the 350,000 eggs at 13, and you constantly are losing the eggs throughout your cycle, right? So you end up with, maybe like 1,000 eggs when it's time the menopause is about to kick in. And menopause could start at 30 years old, right? When we talk about the cougar, when people are saying, yeah, she's a cougar. Well, actually, it's when the body is constantly losing those eggs. And it's estimated that only 400 eggs will be ovulated by a woman. Only 450.
The span of
through
her
your
life.
whole life, throughout your life.
Wow.
Yeah. Don't play. If you want to have a family, go ahead, go out there and do it. Don't try to. I understand woman now is going out, getting her career, getting her degree, but you have to understand too something that you cannot control.
Nature.
Something you just cannot control. And when we're talking about going out, having these operations and everything, they're not really working. And we're talking about spending $10,000 to $20,000 a pop to try to make this happen. And people are really losing money. Again, like I said, if you're not that celebrity that had that money.
So the Holly Berries,
what
the Janet Jacksons, who in her 50s.
What happens is the less eggs that you get, the more that body goes into this panic. And it says, hey, we got to go out, we got to do our thing because we're losing our eggs.
Right.
So the body is like saying, okay, so let's go out and find somebody. We're going to go look for someone who's fertile. Same process. It's the exact same process. Older man. When he was older man, he's looking for a fertile woman. So then it changed when you get older. The older woman is looking for fertile man.
Does she know that that's what she's looking for, or is that a chemical thing?
That's a chemical thing. She has no idea, but we call it cougar. But we really don't realize that that's what's really happening, is that they're really actually are looking for a fertile man. And it works. Now, why are you looking for a fertile man? Why are you looking for a younger man versus an older man who can still kick it?
Energy, ability.
Yeah, those are good ones. But this is something that most people don't really know, too, don't realize. The body knows these things that we're just learning. When I say scientists, people get offended and think it has nothing to do with God.
Right.
But you have to understand, science is just the discovery of what God created. That's all it is. That's all we do is research, and we discover something. We go, oh my God, do you know what God created? Do you know God made testosterone in male saliva to go into the woman? Well, that's what God did. So that's what science really is.
Donna said stamina. That's why we want it, because we need some energy,
that's
honey.
Right. Energy, stamina. Now, here goes the thing that most people don't want to mention or don't want to talk. When women say, I'm going to hold out, you have an older man, and you say, I'm going to hold out until I get my degree. I'm going to hold out until my business start. Now that I have my degree, now I want to start my private business, so I'm going to hold out just a little more longer. Now, the concern is your significant other, your male partner may still have sperm, but his sperm may not have the pure sperm that you need in order to get you pregnant. Because menopause, we just found with the new study that the male sperm isn't that strong. And we're talking about, even if you did get pregnant, it's a possibility that your child could have autism just because of that menopause.
Stop right there. How does that impact autism? Because there are young couples whose children have autism.
I can't break that down completely because we don't know. We just know that that's what it's causing right now. This is just early research, right? And not to say that all men, that all kids have autism because of that. We know that that's just one of the contributions to it, that one of the facts to an older guy, right? And so what's important now to understand is that you have to really consider when you're saying, I want to hold out, because by the time you're ready, he's what? Older.
There's so many women who are dealing with that. And there are a lot of women who are tapped into, their goals, their interests, their masculine energy even. And then by the time you get to a place in your life where you're ready to settle, things have shifted and it becomes difficult to find that life partner. That's why I was asking if there were things that a woman could do that she may not be aware of, because, you're telling us that, everybody is made to be in relationship on some level and that it's natural for us to love. And there are a number of people who now they're at that place where they don't just want the career, but they want a life to share with someone. And these are smart, successful women, and they are having challenges attracting men. Or is it because of the menopause that you spoke of? And is there another reason why maybe older men aren't as attractive to older women, outside of just the physical. But if that's a part of your answer, that's fine too. But help us to understand,
Yeah.
And if there's something we can do.
Yeah. And, one thing that we can do is have more seminars to start teaching at least our young women to get out of this way of thinking that we've started with the women that we can see now that are having challenges versus going back to the olden time when there was not challenges like that, right? I think we need to educate more about what we're talking about today, right? So more people could understand the process. You see, you would want to put me down. You would want to have arguments, and I know people are going to do that. But I'm going to tell you, the laws of nature is something you cannot change. You see, wanting a career, wanting a degree, wanting all of those things, you are not going to change the laws of nature just because you have a degree, just because you have a master's, just because you have a doctorate degree. That's not going to change anything biologically. It's not going to change the man, and it's not going to change the woman.
You're very passionate about this.
When you talk about these women who are going through this, I talk to them every day.
Me too.
They're crying on my shoulders.
Yeah.
They're crying on my shoulders because, when they're saying, I want to have a kid, I wanted to have a kid, or when I'm watching television and I see a family.
Because you always think you have time, and then time goes by.
You always think you have time.
It's so many words are cliche, but it's true. Time really does wait for no man. It doesn't. And so it has to take its proper course. So we could help the younger women by giving them this information. But in terms of the laws of attraction, if you will, in terms of things that a woman can do, you talked about not wearing so much perfume because it blocks your natural smell.
And you know what? Okay, I'm sorry. I'm hyper. Like,
I love it. When you feel it, we feel it.
One thing that I realized. You remember when we were in grammar school? Girl, don't let him know you looking. Don't look, girl. Right? Don't let him know. Don't let him know that you like him. I have met older women that are still carrying that on.
Yes. Oh, you in my brain now.
Still carrying that on.
Now you talking my language. Go ahead.
And I'm like, no, you need to let go of that.
Come
on.
You
need to let go of that. Stop playing this hard to get like this. We're at the age when you're saying, I'm looking for a significant other, then you have to pay attention to these things. I also teach body language too as well. And I'm trying to explain to woman and man too, but woman, stop. If you're going to play hard to get, don't stare and all that. That's fine, but you got to let that guy know that you are aware.
You have to be intentional.
At you. Absolutely. You have to make sure, because we're not at that little kid's age now.
Come on.
We're at the age where you're complaining and saying, oh, I can't find a man. Oh, I can't find a man. Oh, I can't. But then you go, remember a long time ago, when girls go, who is he looking at? He's looking at you.
Yeah.
He's looking at you. He's admiring you. He's not staring at you. Don't get out of that. Oh, what is he staring at? He is, and if he is staring, he's amazed of what he's looking at. He's looking at this beautiful woman, and it's okay for you to give a signal. It's okay for you, because actually, I'm going to be honest with you, when it comes to science, females are the first species between the male and female. She's the first species that's actually sending off the frequency.
Come on.
She is making the first move. She is actually making that first move. It's for the male to see, to be aware of that first move. And that's why sometimes, the wrong man can walk up to you, like at the club. She's like, I made the move, but the wrong guy came, But you are the first one who makes the first move, actually. Now through body language, you might rub your hair.
Yep.
You might do things, because rubbing the
eye
hair
contact.
is also saying, you go ahead and name them. Go ahead.
Well, it's how you turn your body towards a man. You can smile. It makes a world of difference.
Talk to me.
Your soft gestures. Not just eye contact where you look and you look away, but maybe just a little extended. It could be how you tilt your head. So you can signal to the male species that it's safe. It's a safe place. You can come over. And so if you signal to a man that it's a safe place, then he might come over. Because I've learned a couple of things in having these conversations in my study, and of course with my clients, is that number one, you're right. There are a lot of women who are still stuck on that perspective. And even from a biblical perspective, a man that findeth a wife findeth a good thing. And you know what I always say? I didn't say you had to be his wife or he has to be your husband, but you can engage a person for a conversation. But we as women, we go too far. And so you get into your head about all these things and hang-ups, and just be friendly. And that's
just be friendly.
It's an easy place to begin.
See, you asked me, and you really had the answer. You got the answer.
Well, that's because I'm in the role today.
She's got the answer.
So
that is it.
Tell women, because this is what men have told me, they actually enjoy it when a woman comes to them, like, because women don't want to be rejected, right? And so I've done studies with these men. I have yet to find one man who didn't get excited and didn't prefer for a woman to sometimes approach him. And I have a girlfriend, and we actually learned this from my mother. We were out and about, and we were talking and socializing, and there were some men who were at this restaurant/bar, and my girlfriend liked one of the guys. And so my mother, in her wisdom, said, and this is something that we had never done. My mother said, send him a drink. Send him a drink.
Yes,
and at first
I like it.
At first she protested. No. My mother said, trust me on this. Send him a drink. Not only did she send him a drink, but all the men that were sitting next to him pursued her all night long to see who would be the last man standing. Mm-hmm. And did she get married? No. Yes. But did she gain lifelong friends? Absolutely. And and if they had a relationship to a degree, but there is a point, I guess, in life where you have to say, if I want something, and if I'm used to going after what I want in every other area of my life, why is it that as a woman we don't apply these same perspectives to a relationship? If you want it,
that's right.
If you want it. And so, and you're being intentional, at what point do you go after what you want?
It goes back to when you said, he who finds a wife, and then let's also talk about when people say Boaz, right? Do they really know the true story of Boaz?
Talk to me.
Right? Because they say, I am waiting for Boaz. Wait a minute. Understand how it really happened. Okay, homegirl went and got some advice, right? And she said, what do I need to do? Put a little perfume on, whatever. And
she positioned herself.
I'm going to go.
She positioned herself.
She positioned herself.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. She put herself in there. And remember when she laid down next to Boaz? He said, why did you choose me? And now, let's talk about that. Why did you choose me? Because let me tell you, when you meet a man, I tell women this all the time, be the chooser, not the chosen. Because the power lies in your hands. The power is in you. You have that power. So just because he's the football player, to the young ladies, just because he's the high school football player, just because he's the NFL football player, and he came up to you, whoa. You make sure you be the chooser. See, if he has the potential to be with you, not because he came on to you, because look, when we say he who finds, right? When we say he who finds, well, look, that's just like me going on my computer when I want to look for a job. When I go look for a job and I'm looking on the computer for a job, or I look in the newspaper and I found the job that I want.
Come on.
Does that mean I'm going to get it?
No.
Does that mean I'm going to get it? No. It means I got to be interviewed first, right? And that's why I tell women, you are the employer. Us men, we're interested in trying to get the job. You see? So the power lies in you to be the chooser. So keep that power. So when that man comes to you, you need to do your homework. And then it goes back to understanding what your needs, what your non-negotiable requirements are, your needs and your wants. That's why it's important for you to take out time to know who? Self. Get to know you. Get to know what you're looking for, what you're really wanting, because you're the employer. So if you're out saying I'm hiring, what are you hiring?
Because guess what? If nobody knows that you're hiring, if nobody knows that there's a position available.
Yes, keep going. Yes.
If your energy, your eye contact, where you go or where you don't go, what you do.
That's right.
If nothing about you says that I'm hiring, how will anybody even know to come? And then,
talk to me.
What are you doing to put out into the atmosphere that you're available? A lot of women don't want to be put in a position to feel rejected, though. And so it's the fear of what you don't want that paralyzes us.
Yes.
And so because we don't want to feel rejected, we will not put ourselves out there. Now, this could be relationships, or any area of our life. I've got those areas of my life where I'm shy about certain things, and people think because I'm Dia Direct and I'm bold and and I'm a life coach and I've got these books out that always powerful and strong, but there are areas where I'm not as strong.
Yes.
And what I've learned about any level of growth is you've got to get out of your comfort zone, because if you focus more on what you don't want more than you focus on what you do want, then you ultimately attract what you don't want, which is the law of attraction.
I'm your girl, Dia Direct, and I'm also a social and emotional intelligence life coach. So if you need me, reach out to me at deyadirect.net, and we can do a call to talk about what you might be struggling with. Just like I can be there for you, sometimes I have to call somebody to be there for me too. And that's the way the circle of help goes. Love you, mean it. Share it with somebody who needs this message. Like us on iTunes and leave us a comment. We love to hear from you. For more information about what's going on with the podcast and our events, email me at info@deyadirect.net. That's info@deyadirect.net. And this has been the Superpower Her Podcast, where women of power and the men that love us testify.